Hey everyone. Today we're going to talk about switch statement and compare it with if and else. So we create a new project. Let's call this one switch demo and let's just create it. So it's just a basic project. Let's check the project structure. Choose some SDK, whichever one you guys like. And that's pretty much it. Now I like to create some kind of folder. And then I'm gonna create here a new class. There's a Java class. This is interesting. Doesn't recognize it as a source. So you can do something like sources root, and then it will allow you to create classes here. So you can go to new Java class. Okay, and here we can do, so I don't know, switch or demo runner, I don't know, some kind of name, because we literally will just need one class, and that's enough for us. And let's just take a look that that it runs. So if I do here s out hello there and run it, and it runs. Yeah, as you can see, it works. Cool. Well, let's talk about the actual topic. So switch cases versus if else. What is the difference? Uh, let's start with basics. Basics being if else. In if else, you basically are writing an if statement, and in here there has to be a Boolean statement. So a Boolean statement can be anything. It can be literally just a Boolean literal itself. Um, if true ran, and this of course will work. Or you can, try to compare two numbers. 1 plus 1 minus 1, something like this, obviously, which will always be true. And of course, if it wasn't true, then it wouldn't run and you wouldn't see anything. And then you can, of course, have many else if statements. Else if, let's create a variable. Int my var equals 5 if my var equals 1 is 1, else if my var equals 2 is 2, else s out higher than 2. I mean, it's not foolproof, obviously, it could have been also negative number, but it's just a silly example. So you can see that this works. Now, what is an if switch statement and why do we care? Basically, it's been considered that if you have too many of these conditions, like let's say we add a few more, if it's 3, it's 3, if it's 4, it's 4, else higher than 4, right? Or other than typo. So this, of course, works just as good. But at some point, you think, okay, this is way too many conditions, and maybe more and more conditions are coming. Maybe we should consider a switch statement. At least that was the idea. I got to tell you, I don't know if there's this de facto book on clean coding, which is called, Clean Code by Robert Martin. He disagrees, and he says switch statements are evil. Always stick to if else. They're much more readable. Um, I don't necessarily agree with that statement. I mean, it's a bit. I don't think switch statements are evil by themselves, but I just want to tell you, like, there's you don't have to use it, and there's an opinion that you shouldn't. So how does switch statement work? You write literally as a keyword switch, then you open the brackets, just like in an if statement. You put here not a Boolean statement, like in an if statement, uh, which here you can only put Boolean, but here you put actual variable. And as you can see, it's an int variable in this case. And then you write a case. And you say case 1 s out is 1. right? So you can see, I mean, I like to keep it in one line. Some would argue that this is takes less space and a bit more readable. And what about else, you might wonder? Because, here we can have, okay, we have a bunch of conditions, but at the end we have else. Well, for else, you can have default. And you do s out higher than 4. Now, switch has a very specific behavior. Let's say my var, I'm going to just bring it here just so we can take a look at it, is 2. Then, when I run this, it's going to print is 2, is 3, is 4. And you're like probably thinking, what the hell? Well, that's the thing about switch statement. You have to actively break it, break out of it. If you do not, if you didn't write break, it will keep following through the statements from the point of entry. So it entered here. It was in case 1, so it moved to case 2. It was indeed 2, so this one was true. So it goes in and then keeps dropping through until it gets out. Now, some people like to rely on this behavior, and they even, specifically change some commands that, when they want it to drop down. But that actually was exactly what Robert Martin was very much against for. He's like, that's why he didn't like switch statement, because he's like, the developers love writing smart code. Smart code is the definition of non-clean code, because clean code is extremely simple, extremely, what's the opposite of double meaning? Like, it can only have one possible meaning. And that's why we prefer if and else if, because there you can do this bullshit. Here you can. Here you can, drop through the statements, and this is considered bad practice, because then when another developer comes 5 or 10 years later and has to maintain this code, he can't tell if you meant to drop down through the statement or not. That's why it's considered good practice to always break through, uh, even if sometimes you wanna, like, it would have been shorter to not. Like, maybe sometimes you want to print 2 and 3 together, but you still break, and if necessary, you duplicate the code. That's considered good. But anyways, I'm just saying that you always want to put break statement. I mean, in the last one, it's obviously not required. And then when I run it, this time it's only is2, so it works exactly how it's supposed to work. Cool. That's pretty much what you want to know about switch statements. Okay. Another thing is, of course, from Java. I forget from which Java do we have switch expressions. I just don't want to get into them right now because we're keeping it. Like, I think from Java 15, 16, something like that. We have a switch expression where you can do like you return a variable directly from switch, but I'm not going to get into that because this is a video of basic comparison between basic if and basic switch. Okay, and one more thing that I would like to mention is switch only accepts the following 4 types. These are byte, short, char, int, enum, string. And I think string even came from like Java 6 or something. I don't exactly remember, but like from certain version of Java, you could add string also. And also wrapper types for these 4. So the byte class, the short class, the char character, short, byte, integer, and again, enum stays enum, string, obviously. So these are the only types that you can put. What does that mean into the switch? Well, that means if you try to do this, long myvar2 equals 3, and then try to put this here, compilation error. You navigate to it, it doesn't support long, And then I don't know if there's more information here. No, there isn't. But basically, there's the only four type. I mean, not it's not four. I don't know why I said four. It's one, two, three, four, five, kind of six types. And for these four, also they're wrapper classes. So kind of six types or 10 types, depends how you count it. These are the only types that support it. So you still can nicely support strings. So you can write here a string, or maybe let's throw it into a variable. Um, String fruit. And you can do this. And then let's do, oops, I think I copied it wrongly. So, and then you can write k if it's apple, assout is an apple, case peer, assout is peer, right? Whatever. Default unknown fruit. So if I run it now, it will be an apple. If I run it for an orange, it will be unknown fruit, right? So you can see you can nicely work it with the fruit. Now some people might wonder, okay, what about enum? So I don't know, in case you guys don't know, enums are like enum weekday, for example, is a way to define constants. So you can usually write them with capital letters. Then yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So these are enum weekday. And for example, we could do something like um, weekday because that's a type. It's basically it functions like a class, but for constants. You know, it's like a class that you define which all the possible values of this constant class, so to say. And weekday, day of the week. Let's call that our variable. And then you can define which one. Let's say we define Friday, right? And then you can put enum in here. And of course, the types have to match, otherwise it gets red. Uh, and then this is where some people trip. You don't do this, even if it's kind of supported. You do write away this. I think from until certain Java version it wasn't even supported. You had to write it like this always, so directly by the thingy, by the value. And yeah, so you can apparently from certain Java version you can do this, but you like it doesn't right now want to because I'm doing some. Oops, I have duplicate values. Tuesday, where is it? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So now let's just do this. South is a weekday. Is a weekend. Right. So we have this, and you see, basically what I wanted to show you, I'll just keep it short. This works nicely, and for enums, and this is a nice example where a lot of like a programmer might like to do this. And basically, what we're doing is whether it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, whichever of these five values, we'll let it drop till this is out, and only then we break. So programmer would have said, well, I'm saving lines of code. But this is what Robert Martin didn't like. He says, okay, but then in such a obviously in such a simple case, this works beautifully. Let's, for example, choose Wednesday. Of course, for such a simple case, it works, but business logic, written code has a tendency to get complicated over time. So that means the next day, sometime will come another requirement. What if it's, like case Sunday and I don't know, right? Some very specific case where it's not only Sunday, but also it will be if it's I don't know, Sunday of the specific months, then we do some special business logic, and then it starts growing out of proportions, and that's why it was his idea. No, please don't do this crap. Always keep it extremely like duplicate code, but every time with a separate break statement, do not just like you do not drop down through the statements. That was just one thing I wanted to tell you. And yeah, that was honestly that's pretty much it that there is to it. Uh, that's switch statements allow us sometimes to save some save some lines of code, but they're a bit dangerous too because you can easily start writing maybe not such nice code where your intention is not always clear. We always want to have treat every single switch case separately, and pretty important, you always want to keep in mind that you can only use switch statement with this types. That means if you have some other type, you are forced to work with if else. And in general, you can do in if with an if else, you can do anything you can do in switch, but you can't always do in switch everything you can do in if else because you're only limited to these types. That was it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.